How about that? Your Philadelphia Eagles come away with a convincing victory over the Dallas Cowboys to improve to 7-2 now on the season, 34-6 over the Cowboys. And what your Eagles were able to do today, overcoming some early turnovers to get turnovers of their own, forced by the defense, and handle the business the way they did today down in Dallas. Some clutch performances there by the Eagles to separate themselves, especially right before halftime and then into that third quarter. One of the great adjustments was Jalen Hurts being sacked 5 times in the first half and then 0 times the rest of the way. Guys like Johnny Wilson stepping up for the Eagles there. A.J. Brown having another phenomenal game. Jalen Hurts delivering, even scampering in for a touchdown of his own, not using the tush-push on the second one. And the Eagles ride another convincing victory in the division before their biggest test coming up just this Thursday night against the Washington Commanders. And with that, let's welcome in the rest of our panel. Welcome into the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky, Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn, and you know him, you love him, the man right there, Mr. Ray Didinger, joining us for pregame show today, as well as sticking around for the postgame show. Ray, I'll open it up with you again. When it comes to this Eagles win, what stuck out to you about how the Eagles were able to put this one away?
Really, it couldn't have worked out any better for the Eagles, to be honest with you. I mean, they had a game that they could kind of win on cruise control, which is kind of how it felt in the second half for sure. And Washington, and we said in the pregame show, in point of fact, the Washington game is a bigger game than this game because Washington is a threat in the division. Clearly, the Cowboys are not. So Thursday is a big, big game. And the Eagles won this one pretty comfortably today, and they were able to rest some guys in the fourth quarter, which is what you're hoping to do. And meanwhile, Washington was fighting tooth and nail all the way down with Pittsburgh and loses at the end in a heartbreaking kind of game. So for the big game on Thursday night, which is a big game in the NFC East now, with the 2 top teams playing, the Eagles go into it in a pretty good position, really, feeling pretty good about themselves coming off this win, able to rest some guys at the end of the game, not ask them to do too much. And Washington comes off a really tough loss. It was hard fought for 4 quarters, and they lose it at the end. So going into Thursday night's game, which, again, is a big, big game, the Eagles come out of it, this one looking pretty good and getting ready for Thursday night. Yeah,
and Seth, it wasn't pretty early. Eagles were trying to put them away. Of course, you have the red zone turnover, the interception by Jalen Hurts. Then later on, there's a fumble by Jalen Hurts. But the Eagles were able to rise above it all and settle it in.
Well, listen, every game is going to be a battle. And in a perfect world, everything would have went as planned as far as the Eagles are concerned. The most important thing is, hey, they started off slow, but Jalen finally got his footing, accounting for 4 touchdowns on the day, 2 on the ground, 2 through the air, 115 rating. It really is about how you finish games. You know, we talk about this team wanting to start fast, wanting to get off to a great start. It's just not something that they do. But when they need to turn it on, they have a way of turning it on and figuring things out. And, of course, defensively, another stellar day, giving away only 146 of total yards of offense, and I think 4 fumbles and an interception. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better day from this defense. They carried the day until Jalen could kind of figure it out.
Absolutely. Gunner, I mean, what impressed you the most about this win today?
The fact that this team can stutter step and a light switch goes on and they just turn it on. That's the markings of a special team and possibly a special season. Ray was talking about the big game is Thursday night. But this was a big one also for the Eagles because, the Eagles are the team that's basically bird dogging Detroit. Now, we know you got to wrap up the division first, but everybody's talking about the NFC runs through Detroit. Well, the Eagles are only 1 game behind them as you continue to jockey for that all-important home field advantage way down the road. Jalen, he stumbled early, but, man, he cleaned it up in a hurry. I love that beautiful 44-yard toss he threw to A.J. down the sideline. They ran the ball for 180-some yards. I had to look at the stats again because I didn't think they had that great of a day rushing the ball, but they just kept churning. They make the necessary plays when they have to, And the good thing about it is they got the key players out of the game early. Unlike Washington that had to play all of their players the whole game, Eagles got their guys out early because they have a long 3.5-hour flight home, and then you got to, do all your treatments. You got a short week, walk through. It's not going to be like a regular week. Walk through. This is a heal-up week for them. So this was really important for them to do what they did. blow Dallas off the map, blow a pathetic Dallas team off the map, and get these guys out of the game to get them ready for an even bigger test on Thursday.
I mean, Cooper Rush did not look like an NFL quarterback. He certainly didn't look like a quarterback that was 5-1 as a starter going into this game. Trey Lance, we were joking about it during the game, and I know, Seth, you referenced it a number of times. He's got to be a fringe, the most fringe of fringiest quarterbacks in the NFL if he wasn't able to beat out Cooper Rush for at least a start today. But if you go back to the numbers in this game, there's one number in particular, Ray, you were alluding to it during the pregame show, and it was resting guys. If you could get into that fourth quarter and not have Saquon Barkley get a carry, if there's one number other than the score, which is the most important, 34-6, and being in first place now, if there's one number that's the most relevant in this game with this win over the Cowboys, the number is 15. The fewest carries, the fewest attempts, the fewest touches Saquon Barkley has had for the Eagles, and it's so important to limit that when you're on pace for a career high in touches by a country mile in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform, right? So very important to get him out before that fourth quarter hit.
And they were able to do that, which was, I'm sure it's something they talked about. The coaches probably talked about before the game that, like to put this game in a position where in the fourth quarter we can have our key guys sitting, which they were able to do. And that's a great thing. But, I mean, if you look really over this, there's a couple different ways you can look at what this team has done now in the last 5 weeks. They've won 5 in a row coming off the bye. In that streak, now they didn't beat a team with a winning record. Okay, they've beaten some pretty bad teams, and honestly, as bad as some of the teams were, the Cowboys might be worse. They're really bad. So bigger tests await with Washington, and then after that, then you got the Rams and you got Baltimore. So it's a tough lineup coming, but you're taking care of business right now. And one of the things one of the stats that to me has really been a big turnaround for this team is the takeaways by the defense. In this stretch now, they've got 10 takeaways. They had 5 today. They had 5 coming into this. So they're taking the ball away at a high rate. Hurts turned a couple over today. But defensively, not only are they stopping teams, not only are they pretty good on third down now, not only are they keeping teams off the scoreboard, but they're forcing the takeaways, and they're taking those turnaways, and they're taking those takeaways and turning them into points. And that's the mark of a winning team.
Seth, when we're watching this game today, we're watching the early goings. You see the early turnovers by Jalen Hurts. We talked about how before the game, the only way the Eagles were going to allow the Dallas Cowboys into this game is the turnover battle. There you saw it. But then the Eagles defense stepped up, as they really have through these 5 games. And you continue to see them really bring it as a defense.
They've been doing it all year. I'm curious, I got to go back and look and see what their red zone and what their red zone defense looks like. But they've been doing it all season long. Every time the Eagles turned it over twice in the first game, the first 2 possessions against Green Bay, the Eagles went out and held them to two field goals. So they've been doing it all year long. But that's complimentary football, and granted, they've got some tougher teams coming up on the schedule that they can't afford to play the way that they've played. But when I think about, when I think about the interception, to be honest with you, that's just a great play by Diggs, man. Mm-hmm. It's just a great play. I mean, Jalen put the ball where he thought his receiver could catch the ball, and I've been calling for that tight end seam forever, and now we finally see it in Kellen Moore's offense. And you gotta believe that Diggs, having seen that, having played against that offense for all the years that he did, he knew exactly how to play it, and he just made a great play. The other turnover, hey, listen, Micah Parsons being Micah Parsons. I talked about it, in the pregame that, hey, we need to figure out a way to make sure we're doubling him in obvious passing situations. You left him alone on Fred. Fred did a good job on the outside of blocking him up, but he looped back inside, got inside, and caused a fumble. I'm not exonerating Jalen from it because, of course, he's got to take care of the football in both of those situations. But sometimes, the defensive players just make great plays. And I chalk that up to the defensive players making great plays more than I necessarily do Jalen making a bad decision.
Here's what I'll say about it. Yeah, you never want to see the turnovers, obviously. But if you're going to have turnovers, have it against talent like that. Where, it's not excused, but it's certainly understandable when Trayvon Diggs is picking you off or Micah Parsons is forcing you to fumble the football, whether it's Micah Parsons at 100% or Micah Parsons trying to come back from injury to try and help this Cowboys team win, which obviously was a failure. And as you pointed out so eloquently, Dak was right.
Yeah, he was. he was. I'll let you guys figure out what I mean by that. But I tell you, the thing about Trayvon Diggs is, and Jalen Hurts has got to learn this, there are certain players that play the ball certain ways. Trayvon Diggs is an undercut type of guy. So he's going to always give the quarterback the belief that his wide receiver's open. And instead of him trying to catch up with the guy from the outside, he's going to undercut and close the window. And Jalen Hurts has got to understand that. Now, on that same play, if that's a linebacker actually covering Dallas Goedert on that seam route, it's a touchdown. But the fact that it's Trayvon Diggs, you just know that he's going to undercut it, and Jalen's got to understand that that's how he plays.
Oh, I'm just being notified right now. We had a line out to Derrick Gunn's really good friend Brandon Graham, all the way from Big D. We're going to bring him in right now. We're going to bring in Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham joining us from AT&T Stadium down there in Dallas. BG, congratulations on the victory. Congratulations on 5 in a row. What's the feeling in the locker room right now? You don't have a lot of time to savor it. What's the feeling right now in that locker room?
You know what? We just happy that we building, man. That's the biggest thing. Us as a team, we getting better. It ain't perfect, but at the end of the day, I feel like, we played complimentary football today. Probably took a little second to get going, but once we got going, we got going. Happy for the defense. We've been talking turnovers. Get 5 today. It's like, man, it was such a big one. Even Huff going out there and getting them one. Happy that he can get that back off, get that monkey off his back for a second. Because, like I say, we just get better every week, man. And we thank y'all for it, because we hear all y'all what y'all be saying. We hear y'all.
Here we go again. Here we go.
I'm going to let you have that one.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to let you have that one, BG. Hey, listen, man, congrats on the sack today. I seen you got a bag today. But you talked about the complimentary football, and that's huge, because when the offense was kind of trying to find its way early in the game, the defense held him down until Jalen could find his footing.
Yeah, and man, it was big, man. Those turnovers, that turnover, that fumble, then the stop before the half, man, that was a big one, man. I'm just proud of the guys, because we just stayed focused the whole game.
Hey, Brandon, two quick questions. The one, first of all, I just saw a piece of video from down there somebody shot. You walking off the field and you pointing at people. What were you saying to them, number one? And number two, what has been the big difference overall with the defense in terms of just focus, stonewalling offenses, compared to what was going on the first 3 or 4 games of the season?
Well, I think, preseason definitely, not to say, but it was we had the first couple games we had to get used to, just coordinator. Knowing how he called it, and then knowing exactly, what we needed to do each and every game. Not saying that we didn't, but I'm just saying, when the first year coordinator, you know how it goes. It's like you trying to see, we all trying to work on our on everything together, and I feel like guys just know where they have to be, and know how Coach Vic, how he does it, and how he critique us. So I think everybody just wanted to get better, man. And of course we got good players too. But we just work the technique, work the tackling, doing that stuff every week, and then it's just been getting better every day, man. I feel like we got a lot of guys on contract years too that's helping their situation. So I'm just proud of the guys, man. We just want to get these boys right, man, and hopefully holding that trophy in the end.
And what did you say to people in the tunnel as you were walking to the locker room? You were pointing at people in the tunnel.
Hey, you know what I said? I said, I know you was talking. I gave one on the pass.
No, come on, man.
Hey, you got to have fun with it, man. You know how I go. I got to hold people to their word.
BG, you talk about the transition, to Vic, and trying to, get on the same page, as much on the same page as the coordinator as the coordinator has to get on with the players. Talk about these young players, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, these young linebackers that are playing lights out. Talk about the transformation from the first 4 weeks to where you guys are through the second 4 weeks, and how much of a difference defensively it's made, and how well these guys are playing right now.
Well, man, like you said, it was just like we all got on the same page with each other. And I just felt like, it was a lot of question marks going in. I feel like it's the same year that Jalen had, everybody didn't know, oh man, what Jalen gonna do? Then we go to Super Bowl. He did everything we thought he was gonna do. And then now with the linebackers, I know N'Kobe and them took that personally on. Man, we ain't got this, we ain't got that, he ain't do this. Big question marks on them. And I seen these boys just work, man, and they got a good one. They coach, you can tell that these boys together, they got their whole little turnover balls, they put in their room, like they got a bunch of good stuff going that we all are just kind of like, we got good groups, man. And I think everybody just coming together, just holding themselves accountable in their room, and it's just translating, to the field, man. And everybody, like last week when you heard that mic'd up on N'Kobe and them boys was knowing what stuff was coming, and like I say, it just comes with the homework that they do each and every day. Then we trusting each other to make calls out there and just calling the call. And these young boys, man, like Q and them boys, man, the DBs, man. Hey, you see them boys locked up. And Cooper just got hurt in the beginning. And now I feel like he coming to his own because he already had that confidence coming in. He was quiet a little bit, but always kind of been around the ball. But, man, I'm just happy to see him, going out there making plays. And man, that's all I can really ask for is them guys just, they just wide open to get better. That's all they've been doing.
15 picks. Hey, I got to ask you something real quick, Brandon. Do you remember years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, I was interviewing you in the tunnel at the Meadowlands, and a guy walked past us in a Dallas Cowboys leather jacket, and you stopped the interview. You said, man, I know you sad. You remember that?
Hey,
all right. Okay. So I got to ask you this. When was the last time you played a Dallas Cowboy team that sucked this bad?
Woo. Hey, you know what? I'm going to leave that to you. I ain't going to get no. We got to play again. We got to play again. But I'm happy. I'm happy we took care of business tonight because you know how it go. Like, games that you supposed to have, I'm just happy that we had it because it could have got ugly for a second because they were about to go up. And, defense came through. We held them even on the second one. When they fumbled the first one, then the second one, we held them to 3. That was big. That was real big because they was right there on the 5-yard line, man. And man, I'm just, like I say, I'm proud of the fight and I'm proud of the focus because it could have got lax real quick. But everybody was just hungry to keep going out and making plays, man, because there was a bunch of plays out there to be made. And now we got a short week. And it's a big one right here. I don't know. Did the Commanders win? Did they win?
No, they lost.
They lost.
They lost by 1 point.
Yeah, Brandon, I just want to make sure that you know this, BG. I just want to make sure you know this. You are now a member of the first place Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, man. Hey, who would have thought? But we ain't done nothing yet, man. We just working. One day at a time. We ain't done nothing yet. When we finish, then we done something, when we holding that trophy, man. But y'all boys keep on motivating us. Hey, right. keep keeping us accountable. Keep keeping us accountable. We appreciate you.
That's good. Last thing for me, walk us through the logistics real quick because it is the quick turnaround Thursday. You guys, I assume, are going to get out of there as soon as humanly possible.
Oh, yeah, we about to get out of here fast. As soon as I get off this phone, I'm about to take my shower, go see my people real quick, and then we get on this plane and get ready for tomorrow because we got to work. We got to have a short mindset because it's definitely a good team. We about to play real quick, and man, we got to make sure that we on the same page because this gonna be to the end. We know this gonna come down to who gonna win out our division. So we trying to make sure that we focus for this.
Yeah. Just want to make sure you also know of all of us on the panel here in pregame, the person that said the Cowboys would score the most points was Derrick Gunn. He gave him 23. So I think he'd be wrong again, BG.
But I said the Eagles would win, though. I said they would win. Why you calling me out like that, man? That's dirty.
Man. Hey, your Packers ain't doing too good, man.
BG, we're going to let you take your shower.
Hey, he's sad for real.
BG, thank you so much, brother.
Man.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on the win.
Man.
Hope to talk soon.
I appreciate y'all.
All right, man.
The one and only Mr. Eagle himself, Brandon Graham.
He made a really good point about, you look at the final score and how the second half played out, and it looks like a total rout, right? But there was a time in the first half when the defense really came up with a couple of real big stops. I mean, the Cowboys drove it down and got it close. They got it inside the 10-yard line, and Zach Bond comes up with a big hit and forces a fumble by Zeke Elliott. The Eagles recovers, kill that drive, and then the Eagles get the ball right back, and they turn it over, and the Cowboys get the ball in position again around the 10-yard line, and the defense comes up with another big stop right there. So, I mean, that was a stretch where, yes, I mean, it looks like it's a one-sided game. You look at the stats, everything looks like a one-sided game. But for that one little period there in the first half, it's tenuous, and you really needed your defense to come up with a couple big stops there, and they did. And now you're getting to the point with this defense where you feel confident that they can do that. I mean, early in the year, you didn't really feel that. You wondered if they could, in a situation like that, you wondered, can the defense hold them here? Well, now, not only are you thinking that they could hold them, can they take the ball away from them? And that's what they're doing. And week by week, the more they make these kinds of plays and the more they continue to win games in this fashion, it just makes them stronger and it makes them better. Now, the real test is going to be, after having come a stretch 5 straight wins against losing teams, now you're going to play some better teams. But I think the way the Eagles are playing right now, and especially the way their defense is playing right now, I think they're going to be equal to the challenge.
Ray, I think it's – I'm sorry, Seth. I think it's twofold, Ray. Number one, I think it took a while for the carryover personnel to get meshed with the younger guys coming into the system in terms of gelling. And also, I believe it was Vic Fangio trying to figure out who he needed where, who he could trust in certain situations, in down and distance and things like that. And I think we're now starting to see the process unfold the way Fangio wants it to unfold now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because he's got his core group. And the bigger thing is the team is healthy. That's crazy this time of year that as healthy as they are right now.
Well, I don't know how close Mailata's back. That's a big get back if we can hurry up and get him back. But, Ray, to your point, statistically, the Eagles have just been climbing. You talk about their ability to hold Dallas in red zone situations. They went into this game ranked 6th, I believe it is, at 45%. And that number after the performance today will go down or go up even more.
Sure.
And they'll be even better for it. But it's the experience of being in those situations and knowing that you can get those as well. Because when you haven't had success or you haven't been put in a situation where you've had to defend the red zone, you just don't know. But as a young team, they know that anytime that they get down there, the proof is in the pudding. We've done it before. We've stopped teams before. We've either turned the ball over or we've been able to force them to kick a field goal before. That's only going to benefit them down the stretch.
Yeah, that's a lot of it is, as Seth sort of suggests, a lot of it is a mindset. And he speaks from experience because that defense that the Eagles had, I mean, they were really good all over the field, but they were absolutely the best inside the red zone. I can't count how many 4th down stops you got down there, how many goal line stands you had down there. When their defense used to come on the field, it was with the belief that they're not going to score. They're not going to put the ball in the end zone. And a lot of it starts with that level of confidence. Do you have it or don't you have it? And the way the Eagles are playing right now, and they demonstrated it today, and even in one kind of one-sided game, they demonstrated it early when they needed to have it. They do have that, and it's growing by the week.
When you look at all the players that played well today for the Eagles, there's one person in particular that will be our mid-pen bank player to bank on. We'll tell you who that is when we return. This is the betPARX post-game show presented by Lehocky. Seth Joyner, that is Mr. Ray Didinger, ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Derrick Gunn. I'm Marc Farzetta. We'll be back after this. There it is, Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
I'm back in my bag, I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them. You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need
The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This next segment is brought to you by Parx Casino. Marc Farzetta, Ray Didinger, Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn with you for the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. Following the Eagles thrusting themselves into first place in the NFC East with the real battle coming up just this Thursday night. But they get the win today, 34-6. Let's talk about the Mid-Penn Bank player to bank on. And Seth Joyner, you made the argument for him. There was a lot of guys that performed at a high level, but really when you look at Jalen Hurts and what he was able to do today, 4 touchdowns, ho-hum for Jalen Hurts.
Well, listen, once he got right and started moving in the positive direction, he looked really good. Now, and again, the passing numbers they don't jump off the charts, but it's the efficiency, 14 of 20, 202 yards, and 2 passing touchdowns. That's pretty darn good. And the fact that he could get out of the pocket, particularly on a couple of blitzes where he made the blitz a miss and got out of the pocket and completed some passes, especially the one to Dallas Goedert, and then you had one to Johnny Wilson that were huge plays. So, people are going to look at the numbers, and people are going to look at the first half performance and say, well, there's still some question marks about Jalen, but when he needs to step up and right the ship, sometimes it's not about how you start for a player, it's how you finish as far as quarterbacks are concerned. And I thought he finished in a major way, helping this team move to 7-2.
How about the numbers during the 5-game winning streak, Ray? You're talking about a 5-0 team, honestly. You're also talking about 16 touchdowns to just the 2 turnovers today. It's an incredible turnaround you see from Jalen Hurts since so many turnovers week after week.
Well, it's really true. And I mentioned to you guys today that I don't know how many people realize it, but we saw football history today in that Jalen Hurts now, with the 2 touchdowns today, now has 10 rushing touchdowns this season. And he becomes the first quarterback in NFL history, to have 4 consecutive seasons with 10 or more rushing touchdowns. Now, you think about some of the quarterbacks that have run for scores. I mean, the Steve Youngs, the Michael Vicks, obviously, Staubach back in the day. I mean, there were some quarterbacks that could put the ball in the end zone themselves, and yet none of them have done what Jalen Hurts has been able to do the last 4 years, and he ain't done yet.
No, not at all. And Gunner, when you look at Jalen Hurts, you can obviously look at the 2 turnovers today, but again, you're talking about the players that force them are pretty damn good players.
Sure.
What have you noticed, or who do you really credit for either getting to Jalen Hurts and making him realize that you can't always play hero ball, you don't always have to run, you can throw the ball away, whatever it is, something has gotten through to Jalen Hurts to allow him to protect that football, and we saw it again there in the 3rd quarter.
I think it's a combination of Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni, and Jalen actually taking a good look at himself in the mirror and realizing that certain aspects of his game, you don't have to be Superman all the time. You just have to be super in certain situations, and he's been that over this 5-game winning streak. You look at the numbers he's putting up in the passing game, he's not putting up astronomical numbers. It's like 205 yards, 208 yards. We're not looking at a consistent 300-yard passer, but he doesn't have to be. He's hitting on 14 of 18, 16 of 22. Today was 14 of 20. Very efficient. QB rating of 115. His ratings have been well over 115 for 5 consecutive weeks. That's what you want from your quarterback. A quarterback can overcome early mistakes and lead his team down the field and put points on the board when it has to. That's what Jalen has been doing. Jalen is, nothing seems to bother this guy. No matter how you ask him questions, no matter if people are booing him, no matter what people might say about him in the media or the general consensus, nothing bothers this guy. He just goes about his business. He's not this electric quote that we all want like certain quarterbacks are. He's not going to give you something you can hold on to for up until the next game. He's going to be who he is, and that's all he cares about. You like him or you don't like him. You accept him or you don't accept him. And the Jalen Hurts that we're watching right now is far better than most quarterbacks playing in the National Football League right now.
All right.
I'll say this. I think one of the important things that Jalen is doing is he's taken what the defense is giving. I think in the first half he was trying to force some stuff and wait for some things to open up downfield instead of just getting rid of the ball, and he took the 5 sacks. But when he came back in the second half, you saw a lot of, okay, you want to give me a little 5-yard out dump route to Saquon out of the backfield, AJ on a curl route, Devontae on a stop route. I'll take whatever it is you want to give me. You want to give me Dallas Goedert on a quick out route versus a blitz. I see it coming. I'm going to throw into the side the blitz is coming from. In football, sometimes, I know we live in this era where, everybody wants the explosive plays down the field. And that's great. But sometimes you have to operate from the perspective that I got to take what the defense is giving me until I get to a place where I can get what I want down the field. And that's what I see Jalen doing so much better now than he did the first 4 games of the season. He's not trying to force the ball down the field. He's willing to take what the defense is given, and just as long as they don't have penalties or they don't take a sack that sets them behind the chains, that's the way you have to operate. And dare I say, I said it way back before the bye. I said, maybe they need to rein him back a little bit. And dare I say, a $51 million a year quarterback, you use him as a game manager. A lot of people chuckled at that, But when you look at his numbers, D-Gun, isn't that really what he's doing? He's managing the game.
Absolutely.
They came into this game average 174 yards per game, and they ripped off another 187 today. I didn't see it coming.
No.
Because normally you would think, if they've got those kind of numbers, Saquon had a big day. Saquon only had 66 yards rushing on the entire day.
Yeah.
On what?
14 carries.
On 14 carries.
Yeah.
Okay? So if they're going to continue to be able to run the ball at this type of clip, even on days when Saquon doesn't have a big day, I'm okay with Jalen just managing the game.
Yep.
Because just as long as he's efficient and he's effective throwing the ball and moving the chains when he needs to, and then taking the shot downfield, that gets them a PI against Devontae Smith. Then taking the shot down the field and connecting up with A.J. Brown when the opportunity presents itself, that's the way you play the game. You don't play the game trying to force big plays, explosive plays down the field, especially when teams know that that's really, truly how you want to operate.
I think now, at the midseason point, I think that Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts have kind of figured it out. I think they have, for the lack of a better term, there's some coherence to the offense. And I really love the fact that they've run the ball so much and they've run it so effectively. I think it's sort of set up a lot of the other things. But sometimes when people argue about, when you run the ball, you can't run the ball and win in this league because you have to make explosive plays to win in this league. That's the formula for winning in today's NFL. The Eagles are able to do both. I don't know if people really realize this. The Eagles have been running the ball like crazy all year and being very effective at it. But do you know they also lead the league in 40-yard plays? They lead the league in explosive plays. So you can run the football, and you can combine that with explosive plays. And the Eagles had a touchdown drive today, and it was a perfect example of that. First play, you got Jalen under center. They run a play action. He throws a 40-yard pass to A.J. Brown down the field. They take the next 8 plays are running plays, and they take it down, and Hurts sneaks it in for the touchdown. So you have a 40-yard chunk play to start the drive, and then you just turn it over to your running game, control the clock, and score a touchdown anyway. So I think it took them a little while with the new offensive coordinator and the new system to kind of fit the pieces together. But I think now they have it, and this is a good time to have it because you're getting into some big games these next few weeks.
Tell it to the analytics people, Ray. They don't want to hear that.
So the run can set up the pass? What? What are you talking about?
Yeah, what a novel concept.
Totally original, by the way. Ray, you just talked about a great drive that the Eagles had. Let's talk about the Davis Honda drive of the game. And Ray, you were the champion of this one when we were in the green room debating which one should be the drive of the game. You could have the Dallas Goedert touchdown that kind of righted the ship, made it a 14-6 Eagles lead at that point. But then there was one that really put the Eagles in winning mode. And that was the Johnny Wilson touchdown that capped off this incredible drive, which is our Davis Honda drive of the game. 7 plays, only 37 yards, but they were efficient yards. One penalty on that lasted 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And the Eagles went up 21-6 at the end of this one, Ray.
Yeah, I thought it was key just in the fact that it established your control of the game. it gets you with the way the Eagles defense was playing, and more specifically the way the Dallas offense was playing, they weren't going to be able to overcome too many points. So when the Eagles took it from 14-6 to 21-6, they really kind of put it away. And it was nice to see Johnny Wilson get his first NFL touchdown. And, look, I've been watching Eagles-Cowboys games going all the way back to the first ones in 1960 when the Cowboys were an expansion team, a true expansion team. I'm not sure that team wasn't better than this team.
Oh,
I mean right now, I know Eagles fans will always celebrate an Eagles rout of the Cowboys, but in the fourth quarter of this game, I mean, were you feeling sorry for the Cowboys?
No.
Okay. I wonder if anybody was.
I don't think I'm capable.
Because right now, they are in a bad way. I mean, this is not like a one-year fix. Mm-hmm. I think the Cowboys are in a really bad spot when you consider where they are in terms of the salary cap, where they are in some of the age of some of the players, some of the contracts that they're staring at. The Cowboys, this ain't turning around anytime soon, I don't think.
Ray, we had a discussion about the next coach because obviously Jerry's going to have to move on. Who wants this job? To be honest with you, Bill Belichick is not going to take it because it's a situation where Jerry's in control, and as long as he's got breath in his lungs, he's going to remain in control. Who? I mean, who? What?
Some young up-and-coming coach. That's what they're going to be relegated to. A veteran coach, this would be like a blemish on his career. To take the job like this in this situation, as Ray was talking about, the salary cap situation and so forth. You're not going to turn this team. This was a team. Think about this. Prior to this year, this was a team that was an 11-12 win team for consecutive years. All of a sudden, all at once, they give Dak this money. The bottom's falling out of his team. And I can remember Jerry, when they signed Dak, saying, well, Dak's going to have to get used to playing with a lot of younger players and so on and so forth. See, Mike McCarthy and his staff will get fired for this, but this falls on the Jones family. Jerry and his son Steven,
sure,
and also the scouting department. Some of those people need to be fired. Well, Jerry Jones not getting fired.
Well, I guess the question is, how is it that the Eagles can pull it off?
Yes.
How is it that
Kansas
City can do it every year? And how is it that the Washington Commanders can flip the script in one season?
Yes.
And become competitive, and the Dallas Cowboys are falling out by the seams?
It's a good question.
That's a shame.
It couldn't happen. Couldn't happen to a better organization.
There's one point in the game that I laughed out loud, and this is speaking as someone who worked 11 seasons on Sunday Night Football, and I've been on the truck when I hear "Get the Jerry shot." Get him in the booth, whether the Cowboys are winning or they're losing.
Oh, yeah.
Get the Jerry. So get Jerry Jones in the owner's box, looking really happy or looking really sad. And today was the opportunity to see him really sad. And when CBS and company went to the booth to get that Jerry Jones shot,
it
looked like Jerry left to beat the traffic. That's what it looked like, and it was one of the best empty seat shots I've ever seen.
Got
it
in
was
his helicopter
fantastic.
and took off.
Yeah. That's a shame. That's a shame, Ray.
To Seth's point about where would Jerry go for his next coach, because clearly he's going to make a change. I do think his first call will be to Belichick. I really do. And here's the reason I would say that. Normally, Seth's 100% right about the fact that Jerry wants to control everything. I mean, that's the way things work in Dallas, and that's the way it's always worked in Dallas. Except for one time, when Jerry went and hired Bill Parcells. Parcells and Bill Belichick have been cut from the same cloth, obviously. But he got so desperate at that time that he reached out and hired Parcells and said, look, I'm going to let you coach the team. And Parcells did a pretty good job. I mean, he took that situation, turned that team around, and made the playoffs with them, with Romo quarterback. And it didn't last long term. You wouldn't expect the relationship of Jones and Parcells to be a long-term one. But for a little while, it kind of worked. Then after that, he went back into a lot of coaches that he could manage and he could handle and continue to run things. He might just now be desperate enough to reach out to Belichick, to ask Belichick to come down there. Now, would he? I don't know. I really feel Belichick's going to be back coaching next year. I mean, he wants that record. I mean, he's close to that record. He wants that record. But if he comes back, I kind of agree with Seth and I were talking about this. I think it's more likely that he will go back to New York because he has very good feelings about New York. He
and
has
the Giants, that is, not the Jets.
The Giants. He remains close to the Mara family. He has very fond memories of his time as a defensive coordinator on that team that won Super Bowls. I think when he comes back, my guess would be he'd be more likely to come back as the coach of the Giants than the coach of the Cowboys. But I guarantee you that Jerry will extend the offer.
I hate to bring it up. We're all enjoying the win that the Eagles had. But when talking about the Dallas Cowboys coach next year.
Correct.
Kellen Moore.
Wow.
He's never been a head coach.
That's true. But you even said it, a younger guy.
I did.
Dak has had some success with him.
Dak definitely had success with him.
Played for the Cowboys. Was the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Has the history there. And the way this offense is playing now, and assuming they play this way through the rest of the season, I have no reason to think they wouldn't, he will be a very hot property.
Yeah.
And he has been before, but he will be now for sure. And he'll have offers, which, if you're an Eagles fan, you'd rather not see that happen.
Of course
because
not.
now all of a sudden you're going to have to turn the offense over yet again, and Jalen Hurts will have another new system and another new offensive coordinator. You'd like to see him stay with one guy for a little while and see how much better he could be.
Kellen Moore would be perfect because he understands the Cowboys organization and he would know what he was walking into. And if you want to be a head coach enough, I hate to say it, as bad as Dallas is still a prime market in the NFL. It's still one of the premium markets in the NFL. Why would you not want to take that job to be your first head coaching stint going in knowing that if you fail, your agent's going to get you a contract that if you get fired, you're still going to get paid beyond that.
So let's start banging the drum for how great Nick Sirianni is at running this offense. None of it's Kellen Moore, right? Nick Sirianni's doing a fantastic job.
You didn't say that, did you?
I'm saying it if it keeps Kellen Moore in Philadelphia.
Oh, gee.
He doesn't even know what he's doing offensively, that guy. When we come back, you've heard what we've had to say about this Eagles victory. We want to know what you have to say about it. So we're going to bring in our social media coordinator, Bailey Livesey, coming up in a second in this next segment to tell us what you guys are saying about this Birds win. The Beer Garden here at PARX Casino. Enjoy a game, enjoy a pint.
At Pond Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come, join our team.
This is PARX.
This is how you roll, this is how it goes. This is how you pop, this is how you rock. Take a chance, do a dance, little romance. This is how you. This is how you excite, this is how you all night. 360 hit me, now we're going all in. I can feel it calling, the crowd, the light, the night, the sights, the vibe is right. This is how you. This is
PARX, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This next segment is brought to you by Pond Lehocky. On the heels of a Philadelphia Eagles 34-6 victory over the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles improving to 7-2 on the season and now taking over first place in the NFC East with the Washington Commanders, their opponent just this Thursday night, falling into second place with their loss today. We've been talking about it for the entire show, obviously. We're going to hear what you guys have to say. We're going to bring in our social media correspondent, Bailey Livesey, right now. Bailey, what are the good people talking about in our chat?
Hello, everyone. It is great to be here. And to the Eagles fans, let's dive right into these questions and get your answers. So we have a short week to prep for the Thursday night game. What are the priorities that we should focus on?
What do they have time to focus on with a quick turnaround like this? In a league, by the way, let me just say, that it's all concerned about player safety. What do they do this week? What does it look like on a short week like this?
Well, I think this is one of those weeks where you rely on the hay that you already have in the barn. You set your game plan. You walk through as much as possible, and you try to get guys' legs back up under them. I wouldn't imagine there's going to be a whole lot of running going on, just a lot of fundamental type stuff. A lot of defenses and offensive plays are going to be called based upon the knowledge that the players already have, so you're not going to implement a whole lot of new stuff. But really, to me, it's I don't like these Thursday night games at all. I really don't. For a young player, yeah, you can probably manage to get through it. For a guy that's 100% healthy, you can probably manage to get through it. But for the older guys and the guys who are dealing with, any type of injuries, any kind of little nicks that they got, this is a tough turnaround. It's already tough enough to get up energy-wise and emotionally from one Sunday to the next, to have to turn around 3-4 days later and do it all over again. But they're going to have to do it because, the Commanders are going to come into this game understanding what's at stake. They win, they go back up in the division. The Eagles win, they go up by a game or maybe two in the division. So it's one of those situations where, the Eagles coaching staff, the training staff, and everybody else involved, they've got to manage this in a smart type of way. They already started tonight by pulling all the starters in the fourth quarter. Now they got to figure out how to manage it throughout the rest of the week, because it's not a normal circumstance for a player to have to turn around, Ray, and play a game 4 days after they just played.
Yeah, I hate them. I hate the Thursday night game. I think they're an abomination. I mean, if I were the NFL commissioner, the first thing I would do would be get rid of them. I just think it's unfair. I think it's competitively unfair to ask the coaches and the players to turn around, especially for the visiting team. The visiting team, you have a travel day, you get 1 day of practice besides the healing up days. How are you supposed to be competitive? I think they're obviously done for TV. They're obviously done for the money. They're done for the wrong reasons. I mean, but from a coach's standpoint and a player's standpoint, they're unfair. I would do away with them, but of course, that's never going to happen. In answer to your question, though, in answer to the social media question, what would you do? I would think a lot of what happens is it's not physical, because guys, you don't want to ask guys to do anything physical right now because they're conserving energy. But there is some X's and O's stuff. And I think the X's and O's stuff over these next couple of days is going to involve the Eagles' offensive line picking up the blitz. Because you saw today that Mike Zimmer just threw everything he had at the Eagles with the blitz and had some success. 5 sacks in the first half. Dan Quinn is a very good defensive coordinator / head coach, and he's going to be studying that tape. And the Eagles are going to have a better plan for Thursday night, because everything that Dan Quinn saw on tape off of this game, he's going to be throwing at you Thursday night.
Ray, I'll tell you another one thing before you go, D. Gunn. From a scheduling standpoint, someone has to have this conversation. You have the Eagles fly to Dallas and play. They've got a 3.5 hour flight back, and then they got to get on a bus on Wednesday and take a bus down to D.C. 3.5 hours. That's murder, in my opinion. There's no way. What should have happened?
No, that game's at the
game's in Philly.
Oh, they're in Philly.
Yeah.
My bad.
They are home. Yeah.
My bad.
But their home games have been terrible.
My bad.
When you think about it like this, their home game was in Brazil to open the season. Now they have another home game after this, coming off this Cowboys win.
I can tell you what they're doing. The players are on the plane right now. They're already looking at film in Washington. Already. They talk about you get 1 day to savor a victory. When you go from Sunday to Thursday, you don't have one full day to savor a victory. So they're already breaking down Washington. They know what's at stake here. They know this is not the same old Washington Commander team they've been playing before. This young quarterback they have is electric. Terry McLaurin is having a season of a lifetime. You look at the numbers that Terry McLaurin has put up through his career, and he's had a bunch of second and third-rate quarterbacks. Now he's got a legitimate Rookie of the Year candidate who's playing lights out for Washington right now. They understand what the stake. So, they're enjoying the ride home. They're tired. They're beat up just like everybody else who's played today. But they're already studying tendencies, films, and matchups of the Washington Commanders for Thursday night.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is make sure Saquon gets his Whirlpool time. Make sure he gets that R&R as much as he can in the next couple of days here. Bailey, what else do you have for us?
So the first quarter looked a little dicey. Would you say that you were worried heading into the second quarter?
Ray alluded to this earlier. I was certainly concerned. You talk about the interceptions rearing their ugly head, or excuse me, turnovers rearing their ugly head again when it came to Jalen Hurts. Fortunately, they're able to get that touchdown before the half, but it was we said it before the game. The only way the Cowboys are going to be in this game is if the Eagles give them that chance by giving them the football. And Seth, we saw it early, and they were eventually able to correct it.
Well, listen, the first 6 possessions, they went 6 plays punt, 4 plays touchdown. Then they went to interception, they punted, and then they fumbled. So those 3, 4, and 5 series where they went interception, punt, and fumble, yeah, because the game of football is a game of momentum. And whatever momentum they had after scoring the touchdown in the second possession seemed to dissipate. And I think we all were like, uh-oh, we're in trouble here. But they righted the ship. They turn around after the fumble. They go 7 plays, 84 yards, score a touchdown, gain some momentum back right before the half, and then they get the ball coming out. They go punt, 3 and out punt, and then they go touchdown, field goal the next 3 series after that. So while, we were kind of concerned, again, Jalen righted the ship and figured out a way to get the train back on the tracks and moving at a good pace.
I was never concerned.
I was the smile on your face when you said that.
Let's put it this way. I was dismayed by the way the Eagles offense was playing and the mistakes that they were making because they hadn't done that for a couple weeks. I was a little dismayed with the Eagles offense, but I never thought that they could lose this game because the Cowboys couldn't move the ball. The Cowboys couldn't score. The Cowboys weren't ever going to – I mean, the Eagles could have won this game 10-3 or something. I mean, you just knew – look, the Eagles offense is stumbling around and they're not playing very well. But the Cowboys aren't going to be able to make enough plays offensively to win the game. Their offense, I mean, I think at one point they were averaging less than 2 yards per snap. And part of that was, look, the Eagles, let's give credit, the Eagles defense is playing very well right now. But the other part of it was the Cowboys offense with Cooper Rush at quarterback was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, though, Ray. On their fourth possession, they went 13 plays for 77 yards and fumbled the ball. Zeke fumbles the ball, at the 5-yard line. So, I mean, they were right there on the precipice of being able to score some points. And had that happen, I think all of a sudden, because that's right there in the midst of the interception, punt, fumble. So now you kind of give them life. My thing is you got to choke teams out, man. When you got a team like this that you should beat. Now, I'm not saying that I was worried. I was concerned more than anything because if they score right there, now the score is 10-7, and you really got a game. You really do have a little bit of a game. But, once they fumbled that ball, I thought that all the life, whatever little bit of life that Dallas had in them was gone.
Gone or ever scared? Never worried? Ever concerned?
After watching Cooper Rush in their first drive, nope. I thought Dallas would make it interesting for a while, but then when you look at the way they've played, teams are who they said they are at this point of a season. When you look at the way they've been playing over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and you look at how the Eagles have been mowing through opponents over the last 4 or 5 weeks, no, there was no concern. It was just a matter of how much would they win by and how soon would they pull players out of the game, because we had talked about that in pregame. Smoke this Dallas team early, pull the key players out, let them rest up for the short turnaround, and that's exactly what happened.
Bailey, what do you have for us next?
And for the last question, this is a fun one. How great did it feel to beat the Dallas Cowboys tonight?
Look at Seth smiling over there. He's gloating.
Hey, listen, man, it always feels good. I mean, Buddy Ryan said, hey, we got 16 games. We may lose 14 of them, but I can promise you those 2 we win going to be against Dallas. I mean, it's always a beautiful thing to beat the Dallas Cowboys. They're our most hated rival. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if the teams are good, they're both bad, or one is really good and the other one stinks. It's our greatest hated rival. And anytime that you can come out with a win, and you got to consider this, the Eagles haven't won in Dallas, I think in 9 games, they
had lost 6 straight down there.
7 years.
7 years they haven't won a game in Dallas. So this has got to feel good, not only from the standpoint of being able to win the game and move to 7-2, but also from the standpoint of, hey, we've not gone down there and had any success. And people say, well, Dak didn't play, and that I don't care. We whooped y'all's behind today. We broke we got off the snide, and that's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm. For as many years as I covered this Eagles team and traveled, every time I would go to Dallas, listening to the sports talk radio stations, and they will want to beat the Eagles. But it always just fascinated me how Dallas doesn't view the hatred towards the Eagles the way Eagles and Eagles fans view the hatred towards Dallas.
Dallas don't know. There's a whole lot of teams in the NFL that hate the Cowboys.
I know.
Man.
I'm just telling you. But, when you talk about big rivalries, for the Eagles, it's more so. It was for a long time more so than the Giants and the former Washington Redskins, more than Dallas. Eagles fans and this fan have that hatred for the Dallas Cowboys more so than the Dallas fan base has hatred for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, for sure.
Which is crazy to me when you consider how they butt heads in some of the biggest games of the division's history were played between these two teams.
Yeah.
But in terms of watching this Dallas franchise disintegrate the way it is, especially with Mr. Visible himself, Jerry Jones, who was invisible when CBS went to take that shot of him up in the booth today. This is one of my happier moments in life to watch the Dallas Cowboys just disintegrate like this because Jerry is bigger than life. You can't tell Jerry anything. Well, somebody needs to tell Jerry, your team sucks. It's flat out suck right now.
His quarterback told him that. His quarterback told him that last week.
He didn't listen.
What do you know? Jerry doesn't want to listen to people on his own.
No, he don't even listen to his own son.
His own office.
What do you know? Dak was right.
I will say this one thing about it. This is the second divisional game the Eagles played this year. They've won their divisional games, albeit just two, Giants and Cowboys. I believe it's 62-9. That's what they've won by in those two games. We always talk about how divisional games are supposed to be weird. They're supposed to be close. Both teams know each other really well. Looks like no one's ever met the Eagles before.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. Bailey Livesey, our social media coordinator, thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Some great stuff there from the comment section of the show. When we come back, all right, it was Cooper Rush. It was Trey Lance for a second there as well. What are we really going to take away from this win? And also, we're going to take a look at the injuries in this game. Saquon Barkley was out for a minute. You also had Darius Slay out for a minute. We're going to take a look at what's going on with these guys, as well as Jordan Mailata. When could the Eagles be getting him back? We'll talk to our sports doc, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, when we return here on the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. The 360 Lounge, we will be there Thursday night doing our show before and after the Eagles take it to the Commanders, hopefully.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday. And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed.
Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
Forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Did you know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to DavisBuysCars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say DavisBuysCars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon, and for every Eagle sack, defensive sack this season, Verizon will donate $100 to the Travis Manion Foundation. How about that? $300 finding its way to the Travis Manion Foundation today, courtesy of the Philadelphia Eagles getting 3 sacks. half sacks by Brandon Graham and Jalen Carter, and Bryce Huff actually getting in there and getting a sack as well. How about that Bryce Huff character? Just like that. Bing, bang, boom, gets in there. There were a couple of injuries in today's game, one including to Darius Slay, who was coming back from a groin injury. Looks like he tweaked an ankle injury today after already dealing with a knee injury 2 different occasions this season. We'll also get an update on Jordan Mailata. Let's talk to our man, the sports doc himself, Dr. Bruce Grossier. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us as per usual and on site for a change here at Parx Casino. Let's talk about Darius Slay. First, we know he had already been dealing with the knee injury. He was coming back from a groin injury that made him miss last week's game. What can you tell me about the ankle? What have you heard?
Well, Darius Slay lasted a whole 3 plays, and then he twisted his ankle. We saw that. He had some PT, he had some ice. They taped him up. He's able to return to the game, and he was able to play. And luckily, at garbage time, they were able to replace him with Isaiah Rodgers. So we saw Slay yucking it up on the sideline. So by all accounts, he should be ready to play that game against the Commanders on Thursday night.
We were talking about Jordan Mailata. I think, Gunnar, do you have some information you wanted to share?
What I'm hearing, Doc, is Mailata could return for Thursday night against Washington. What have you heard in the hamstring injury that he has? Are you surprised that he's been out as long as he has with it?
Well, they put him on IR, as you recall, the Cleveland game, and you miss a minimum of 4 games. So it just so happens that today was the 4th game, so he'll be eligible to come back against the Commanders. And we hear he's progressing very well, and he's a big guy. And the one thing you don't want to do is run the effects of chronic hamstrings problems with scarring and calcification. So by all accounts, he's going to be ready to go. And they had a fairly injury-free game. Also, as you alluded to, Saquon Barkley on the Jalen Hurts sack, he twisted his wrist. He had a wrist strain, and they taped him up with a little of that kinesiology tape, and he was able to return and play a whale of his second half.
Doc, Mailata is the focus for me just because, Fred Johnson has played well, but, when we start getting to these games that are of the magnitude of this game coming up on Thursday, you want to be at full strength. We finally got AJ back. We finally got Dallas Goedert back. The one key piece that we're missing now is Jordan Mailata. And normally what they do is they'll open up a practice window on a player before they bring him back. Now, I hear that, he may be going on Thursday, but we haven't heard them open that practice window. Is that something that they can say on Tuesday, hey, we've opened a 21-day practice window, and he could still play this coming Thursday?
I believe so. I believe that after 4 games, he missed the obligatory 4 games on injured reserve, and they could try him out on Tuesday and then Wednesday, and using an abundance of caution, they may or may not play him. Fred Johnson has played all right off and on, but you're still looking at games against the Ravens, the Rams, home at the Steelers, so you need Big Jordan, and basically it's of concern. But if he's able to go, I'm sure he's been practicing on the side, but the Eagles are very tight-lipped about his return to play.
Doctor, I want to ask you about this. It's a general question. It has to do with Saquon Barkley, though. From a doctor's perspective, we hear so many times, I'm not a doctor, but I assume carrying the football 334 times in an NFL season is a lot. When you hear numbers like that and the question as to whether or not people are concerned about Saquon Barkley's workload, from a medical expert's perspective, how do you view that in terms of managing the workload of Saquon Barkley?
Well, today, for instance, they were blowing out the Cowboys, and I think he is your bell cow, and if you need him to win games. You're up there with the Detroit Lions, and you have the ability to get a bye. So it's really a gray area, Farzy, as far as titrating his play. He's your guy. So far, he's been fairly injury-free, and if they get to a point where they have a big lead, they would want to take him out of the game as they did today. They put in Will Shipley, they put in Kenny Gainwell, but It is a gray area.
All right. Now, we've talked about this before when it comes to the time the Eagles are going to get back home tonight and then play Thursday. So if you were a fly on the wall, or let's say the Eagles asked you, how would you handle this? What would your advice be to NFL teams that have such a quick turnaround from playing in Dallas, flying to Philly, then playing Thursday night? What would you tell a team, and how would you handle it from a medical expert's perspective?
Well, I would harken from the Philadelphia 76ers. Their favorite 2 words are load management. So I would do load management. I would let them rest. A lot of whirlpool, a lot of baths. These are veterans. They know what to do. So I think you reach a point where we're resting the veteran players, and they did a lot this week. They had a day when they rested 12 players. So I would say resting would be very key. A lot of rehab, a lot of cold compression. So I think that'd be very important, because I think it's unfair to the players, really. These Thursday games and these overseas games, I think, are unfair to the players.
Fair enough. Dr. Bruce Grossinger, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us here on Postgame.
Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Dr. Bruce Grossinger, our sports doc here on the betPARX pre- and postgame show. I'm going to ask this question to you, gentlemen. I mentioned earlier the convincing win the Eagles had over the New York Giants. They at least had their starting quarterback in Daniel Jones. The Eagles just absolutely took it to the Dallas Cowboys. And to answer the questions from earlier, no one's feeling bad on this panel for the Dallas Cowboys. But what are we to take away from this win against the bang-ups? Even the guys that performed extremely well, Trayvon Diggs with his interception in the end zone, Micah Parsons coming up with the fumble, making Jalen Hurts fumble. With those two guys coming back, not at 100%, making plays. What are we to take away from this victory?
That this team went down there and took care of business. They didn't play down to Dallas's level. They got caught up last week and played a Jacksonville team that is far inferior to them and made their game a lot more interesting than it should have been. In this case, they came out of the gate, they stumbled, they corrected the mistakes, and they let the Cowboys know you're not on our level this year. Not even close to being on our level this year. And that's the makings of a good team or an exceptional team. They overcome early mistakes and still take care of business. I mean, they got 5 turnovers in this game. They ran for over 180 yards in this game, okay? They put up 348 yards of offense and held the opposition under 300 yards of offense for 2 consecutive weeks now. That's what good teams do. You know, you look at how the Kansas City Chiefs are winning ball games, and then today was another example, okay? They should have lost to Denver. Denver goes down the field inside the 20-yard line. Chip shot, they run the clock down to the last play of the game. Should be a chip shot field goal. Kansas City blocks the ball. Kansas City still undefeated. Look how the Eagles are winning their games. You know, Kansas City's had 3 or 4 wins that they've got aid from the referees, a drop pass, a receiver stepped out of bounds, won a potential game-tying touchdown. That's not the Eagles right now. The Eagles are ascending in the right direction, and that's what you want to see at this point. I don't like to use the word peaking because only they know when they've peaked, but they're ascending in the right direction right now.
Ray, what do you take away from a win like this against a team that was so banged up?
Yeah, I think that, every week when you look at the NFL scores and you look at the NFL scoreboard, there's always a game or two that you say, how did that happen? How did that terrible team beat that good team? It happens every week. And so just because you're better than that other team doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win automatically. And I think for a little while today, we were talking a little while ago about how this game started off and that the Cowboys had a couple opportunities and the Eagles weren't playing particularly well offensively. You could have found yourself in one of those games. And the fact is that the Eagles never got unnerved. They never sort of blinked. They just kept playing. They just kept, okay, let's just grind this thing out. Let's get the next possession. Let's take it down. Let's score. Let's get the lead and take it from there. They didn't have any of that sort of, is this game getting away from us kind of uneasiness. They knew they were better. They knew they went down there in a place where they haven't won in 7 years, right? And it could have been a situation where you could have started to get a little bit nervous if you were them, and never did. I think the fans probably did. I think some of us in the room maybe did a little bit, but the feeling you had on the bench was, look, we got this. We got this. We just need to get a couple drives together and we're going to win the game. That's the kind of confidence that's growing with this team now. 5 wins in a row. Not easy to do in the NFL, regardless of who you're playing. And now, I think what's really happened is the quarterback has found a really nice rhythm now, and the quarterback's playing with a lot of confidence. And the defense is just playing better by the week. And one of the things about the defense, nobody's really talked about this, but it's obvious to me, boy, they are tackling well.
Yes.
They are really, for a team that early in the season was missing tackles all over the place, and the game in Tampa was just terrible. And I just thought, is this going to be another one of those years? But coming out of the bye, man, they are tackling really, really well, and it's reflected in the statistics. I mean, they're right now they're playing as good as any defense in the NFL.
One of the things on that note, and Seth, I want to ask you the same question, but on that note, while you're talking about the defense, Vic Fangio, even before the bye week, talked about how this defense was going to get better at tackling because their defensive line needed to win battles. And we have seen Jalen Carter really over the last handful of weeks, ever since the bye, really start to really come into his own.
Right.
And when guys aren't having an entire truck-wide hole through the offensive line to drive through, you could get a better angle on those players, linebackers, cornerbacks, whoever, are coming up to make the tackles. That's a narrow lane for them to go through. Yep. And that's helping out the rest of the defense.
Yep.
I can't remember too many times where I've seen a team improve on tackling 4 games into a season after a bye.
I can once they got that damn donut out of there.
That's right. Jalen Carter improving and Seth Joyner calling him out on social media, saying, get rid of the damn donut. Seth, what do you take away from this victory?
You know, my biggest takeaway is a team who beat a team that they were supposed to beat. They did it for the last 4 or 5 weeks. That is 5 in a row, right?
5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
5 in a row, yeah.
So for the last 5 weeks in a row, they beat teams that they should beat while getting better in the process. You know, you can say what you want about Jalen's start, but I'm more focused on his finish and how he managed himself down the finish. The defense continues to get better and better and better, and as you look at their statistical ranking, that proves that they're getting better week in and week out. And when we can see the improvement and we begin to talk about the improvement in tackling, it's not just, you know, one guy. It's everybody across the board. I mean, how many times do we watch Nakobe Dean run up on somebody in the open field and either overrun him or underrun him and miss the tackle? Like, it seems like every single time he runs up on somebody, they're down. Cooper DeJean, every single time he runs up on somebody, they're down on the ground. They're just not missing tackles. So when you're playing the teams that you're supposed to beat, you have to beat those teams. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, you're going to come across some teams that are going to give you some problems. The Baltimore game, going to give you some problems. The Washington game, that's a 50-50 proposition because of how that football team is playing. So there's no given there that says, oh, we're definitely going to beat them. They're going to have to go out and they're going to have to take that game. But they beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, but they've gotten better in the process. And that's just only going to help them when they face Washington on Thursday and Baltimore down the road.
I'll tell you, from my perspective, what I loved about this so much is that how many times last year did we talk about they found a way to win. The Eagles, they found a way to win. They really scratched and clawed. Well, last year they only had 2 wins of 10 points or more. Compare that to the prior year where they went to the Super Bowl. They had 6 wins by 10 or more points. You're talking about 20-point wins now in 3 of their 5 wins this year. Or 3 of their 5 wins in this 5-game winning streak. That is impressive. I always talk about games where you're playing far inferior opponents, and today, obviously, even though the Dallas Cowboys were struggling going into this game with or without Dak Prescott, they were struggling. This was a game that the Eagles went out there and did exactly what they were supposed to do against a far inferior opponent. I look at games like this as prove-it games. Go ahead and prove that you're that much better than this terrible football team. Not that they hung around, not that you gave them an ample opportunity to stay in the game. They did that early, and then they just squashed out all life for the Dallas Cowboys in this game, and that's what impressed me so much about this victory today for the Eagles.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And one of the things that's I think is a really good trend for this team is 5. Now, if you played 9 games, 5 of them you've held your opponent under 20 points. And that's not easy to do in today's NFL. I mean, the way the game is played, the way the game's officiated, with the way offenses are playing now, if you can hold a team under 20 points, that's pretty good. And they've done it 5 times now. You can say what you want about the competition. You can say what you want about the Cowboys' offense today, which was pretty bad. But the fact is, this defense is playing really, really well. The guys up on the defensive line are playing really well. You're not just the starters, but I mean, you're getting good play out of your rotation players too. And you know, initially early in the season when Zach Bond was running around making a lot of plays, you know, people were telling me, "Oh, this guy's great," and my normal veteran reporter's instinct was to say, "All right, calm down, okay? Calm down. Let's see a few more games." Well, you know, I'm to the point now where I'm starting to say, you know, this guy really is pretty good, and he has made a difference on this defense. And we talked in pregame. It's worth mentioning again is what a difference that Mitchell and DeJean have made on the back end. I mean, they are playing really, really good football.
What universe is this? Talking about young corners, talking about good linebacking play. 2 players playing well at the linebacker position for this Eagles team. I'm going to go ahead and get used to this. I'm going to try to. We've been waiting a long time for it, that's for sure. When we come back, we're going to focus on this Eagles matchup coming up against the Washington Commanders. What needs to happen between now and then in the very short amount of time? That's when we return here on the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. The betPARX Sportsbook here at Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. Enjoy all the action and win yourself some cold, hard cash.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pond Lehocky, we're neither a pond nor a hockey team. In fact, I don't even know how to skate.
Cut.
We're the injury law firm that you want fighting for you.
With our vast network of attorneys across the country, we know the playbook on injury law.
It's how Pond Lehocky recovered billions of dollars for more than 100,000 injured and disabled workers.
And we know we can do the same for you.
So give Pond Lehocky a call. No other law firm will fight harder for you.
And you'll never pay a dime until we win.
Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Stay at Home Home Care. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky here at Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. Over 3,200 slot machines. Marc Farzetta, Ray Didinger, our guest panelists this week. Seth Joyner and Derrick Gunn coming up. Seth, I know we have the giveaways that we want to get to a little bit later in this segment, but I want to ask you guys about this. When it comes to the quick turnaround that we've referenced many times throughout the postgame show, what do you need to see from this Eagles team over the next couple of days here? How do you want to see him manage it? What do you need to see him do over the next couple of days to make sure they're as fresh as can be come Thursday night at 8:15? Gunnar, I'll ask you first.
Every team has a different routine, and the Eagles are no different. We heard Brandon Graham talk about how tomorrow you got to go back to the drawing board. You got to wipe this slate clean. We got to start looking at more game film. We'll have a walkthrough. They'll have their sessions where they heal up. The trainers and the doctors will take a look at any and all injuries. They're going to monitor Darius Slay's situation very closely to see how much he can play on a short turnaround, if any. He might not even play Thursday night. We don't know yet. Considering he went out of the game early again, he came back and finished, but we don't know yet. Nick Sirianni and that coaching staff is very good at knowing the room, at identifying the room, reading the room properly. He's going to back off. He's going to push. You don't have a lot of time to push. Everything you do this week is at a slower pace to allow your body to heal, because it usually takes 2 to 3 days for the most part for a body to completely heal. In this case, you don't have that kind of time, so you don't want to do anything extensive that could irritate any injury to any significant player.
Ray, what are you looking at in the next couple of days here? 4 days to get ready for who is going to be their toughest opponent since they played the Packers in the first game of the season.
They are, too. I mean, I think anybody, and there probably still are some people out there that are a little skeptical just how good Washington is, because we're just not used to them being good. They haven't been for years. But they're legit. I mean, on offense, they certainly are. And on defense, they're getting better. But from the Eagles' standpoint, I think just have to be smart. I think that one of the things that the Eagles do well is they're in week resting players, knowing when to back off players, knowing how hard to work. I think they have a pretty sensible approach for it. Now, the three-day window before the game is unfair for anybody, but I think the Eagles will approach it right, and I think it helps them immensely that they had a pretty easy go today, and they were able to sort of just go cruise control through the second half, rest some of their regular guys, and not stress them out before this game, as opposed to Washington, who had to play 4 bitter quarters and lose a tough game. That's going to be a tough bounce back for Washington. I think the Eagles are going into it at home in a better state.
Seth, you mentioned it in the pregame show. You can't play Washington today. You still got to play the Cowboys before you do anything.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, this game couldn't have gone better. All our goals were going into this game, nobody plays in the fourth quarter. They got that wish. We got what we were wishing for. So things couldn't have worked out better. Now knowing that, how good a position are the Eagles in? Best possible position that they could be in, considering they didn't play in the fourth quarter, now going up against the Commanders on Thursday?
Well, I think they absolutely are in the best position that they can be in. You know, they came out of the game relatively healthy. You know, to Ray's point, Washington had a very physical game they had to play today. You know, we kind of talk about this whole Thursday night football game as if, you know, the Eagles have to play it and Washington doesn't, you know. But the same issues that the Eagles are going to have to deal with, Washington is going to have to deal with, you know, even after going through such a physical game today against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It will come down to the team who can get the freshest, that can be the freshest mentally, not making, you know, mental mistakes, and the team that can play the most aggressively, realizing that they're going to have 10 days off before their next game. So, you know, I for me, you know, by the time you get to week 10, you know, everybody should have digested the playbook on both sides of the ball. I think that's pretty evident by the way that they've played. So this week, to me, is going to be more physical than mental in a lot of different ways. Physically, they're just trying to recover. They're just trying to get ready and get set for Thursday night. From the mental side of it is how can you take the game plan and digest the game plan without having to physically go through the motions of what you would go through on a regular week of practice, because you're just not going to get the one-on-ones. You're not going to get, you know, the 9-on-7 situations. You're not going to get a whole lot of teamwork. You're not going to get a whole lot of, you know, 7-on-7, competitive 7-on-7, because, you know, you're going to want to walk through a lot more than you physically go through. So they're going to have to be mentally sharp. The team who can be the mentally sharp in a short week like this, to me, is the team that's set up best to actually win the football game.
Before we get to our game ball, Seth, I want to throw you this question directly. You're facing a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. You have a veteran defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. If you were talking to Vic Fangio this week, what would you tell him? Or what do you expect from him going up against the Commanders?
Well, listen, as great as Jaden Daniels has been, he's been as good because the Washington Commanders run the ball very effectively. So the number one thing that the Eagles defense is going to have to do, they're going to have to get that run game under control. And dare I say, make them one-dimensional and force Jaden Daniels, you know, to be a passer of the football. Now, if you can get that done and you can make that happen, that makes calling plays from a defensive perspective a lot easier. And it should be easier for the defense because now, you know, every once in a while they're going to run the ball just to keep you honest, not that they really believe that they can run the football. And then the big thing is containing Jaden Daniels, because he is dangerous with his feet. He's quick, he's elusive, and he's very fast. And the Eagles have had a history of not containing the quarterback. Josh Sweat in particular, he lost contain on a pass on a run play today where he stuck his nose in a gap that wasn't his gap, and the linebacker was sitting right there. The guy bounces outside, Rico Dowdell bounces outside and gets a nice gainer. They've got to be disciplined against this quarterback. And I'm talking about you can't speed rush all the time. You know, it's this 50-50 proposition. You're telling your guys, get after the quarterback, get on the quarterback, get after the quarterback. But when you're running those speed rushes and you're getting above the quarterback on both sides, then you open up that gap between the tackle and the defensive end for him to step through and either step through and buy time to throw the ball downfield or step through and take off in man situations and convert first downs. before you can react to him. So you want to create the pocket and squeeze the pocket and keep him in the smallest pocket that you can and make him operate from the pocket, because he is so much more dangerous when he's outside of the pocket than when he operates from the pocket. And then Jalen Carter has to have a big day. Moro Jomo has to have a big day. If there was ever a time for Jordan Davis to wake up as a pass rusher, he has to have a big day. Booker the fourth have to have our big guys in the middle. They have to control the middle of the field, and they've got to be balanced in their rush. You can't get two of them shoulder to shoulder creating gaps anywhere, because he sees it, he's going to take it, and he's going to exploit it in a major, major way. So they got their work cut out for them.
All right. I know you have some giveaways that you want to do, Seth, but before we get to that, Gunnar, I'll ask you first, when it comes to the game ball, who are you giving your game ball to today?
Oh, geez. Wow.
A lot of people to choose from.
Can the entire defense split it up? Can I do that?
Get off the fence.
I can't give it to the entire defense?
All right, fine.
I mean,
that's a big
they
game
got
ball.
5 turnovers. They stonewalled 2 Dallas red zone opportunities. They held the Cowboys to 6 points, under 200 yards of offense. A very putrid Cowboys offense, I might add. Everybody had a hand in it, man. I can't single out one person. I got to give it to the whole defense.
Not even Brandon Graham?
No. Heck no.
Ray, who gets your game ball?
I think Jalen Hurts for doing what he did. I mean, 10 rushing touchdowns 4 years in a row, something no NFL quarterback has ever done. I think a guy makes that kind of history, he deserves a game ball.
Jalen Hurts gets the game ball. Seth, who do you give it to?
I so agree with D. Gunn when he spit those stats on what the defense actually did today. That's huge. But if Jalen Hurts doesn't turn it around, this is a dogfight all the way to the end. That's just a fact, because you know what, the defense can turn the ball over, they can make stops. But the one thing that the defense very rarely does is put points on the board. And this Philadelphia Eagles put 34 points on the scoreboard today, and a lot of that is attributed to Jalen Hurts and his play. With 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns, my game ball goes to Jalen Hurts.
I'm gonna go with a linebacker on this one, because we've been talking about him all season, how well this guy has played. And one of the things that I thought was crazy was going into that Green Bay Packers game to start the season, Zach Bond, his career high in tackles for a season was 31. He topped that in 3 weeks. I mean, obviously he's a starting linebacker now, but he has just continued to bring it every single week. And when the Eagles need a defensive play, more often than not, he's the guy forcing the fumble. He's the guy intercepting the ball. He's the guy picking up the fumble, whatever the case might be. And when you saw those turnovers early, what gave you the most confidence that the Eagles were going to be able to withstand that, seeing that come back and haunt Jalen Hurts? It was the fact that this Eagles defense was, again, forcing turnovers, as they have done throughout this 5-game win streak. And you talked about this, the tackling and all that. The turnovers have been there. And we alluded to his linebacking mate, Nakobe Dean, going out there and saying, we got to put more balls on the wall in this linebacker room. And they did that again today, and Zach Bond was the guy leading that charge. So I'm going to go with him for my game ball. I totally agree with everything you guys have said, but to shine a little bit more light on that defense, I'm certainly going to go with what we saw from Zach Bond today and been seeing from Zach Bond. Also, I just want to give one more shout-out to Jalen Carter, because I really do feel like and Vic Fangio, when he was asked about maybe the best game he has seen from Jalen Carter, we're now talking about putting games together, where this is a kid that certainly seems like he's coming into his own. So I want to make sure I shout him out.
I tell you what, as far as Jalen Carter is concerned, statistically, you don't see the havoc that he wreaks and what he does across the board. I mean, he's played some really good football. And the problem is, when you see a guy play at this level, they won't get the notoriety like everybody else sees it, because the other teams have to watch him on film to get prepared. But as a casual fan, when you're watching the game, you just don't see how disruptive he is, And until a defensive tackle gets to the point where he's making 8, 9, 10 sacks in a season, they don't get the type of notoriety that they deserve. But he is as big of a factor, a bigger reason why this defense is playing the way it is playing as anybody else across the board. He has been phenomenal.
No doubt. What are we doing giveaway-wise, Seth? People can follow you on all your social media platforms. I know you got some balls up here. You got some jerseys you want to give away and all that stuff. How do people get this stuff?
Well, listen, we started our giveaway 2 weeks ago. We gave away a Seth Joyner jersey last week, along with a Saquon Barkley jersey this week. I only have the A.J. Brown jersey up this week because on the short week, we're giving that away. You guys saw what you needed to do as far as how to participate in the giveaway. We're going to give that jersey away, that A.J. Brown jersey away Thursday night in the postgame. So you guys got to get on social media and get all the platforms and do what's required to be eligible to win it. Going forward, I still got a Brandon Graham jersey and a Jalen Hurts jersey that's soon to come. I got 2 tickets to upcoming Eagles home game and a suite. We got footballs to give away. I just ordered some new helmets, some of these mini helmets. We'll start giving some helmets away on a weekly basis. We just got a lot of stuff that, we want to give away as an appreciation to you all for following the betPARX pre- and post-game show presented by Lehocky. And it's a thank you to you all for your great support and viewership. So we'll continue to do it as the weeks go on. And by the time we get to week 17 or week 18, whatever it is, we will have given away a lot of good stuff.
There you go.
And if everybody's like me, I like stuff for free. As a matter of fact, I'll take 3.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I have to say, guys, I don't know about you, but I think this Ray Didinger guy's got a bright future in this business.
Yeah, I do too. I heard he was a legend, and he just proved it over the last 90 minutes.
Well, one thing is for sure, the best hair on the show. The best hair on the show by far.
No question about that.
Ray, it was an honor to have you as our guest panelist this week.
Ray.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure. When Seth sent me an email, said, you want to join us? It's Dallas week. I want you there. So how could I say no? And I'm glad I was here. This was a lot of fun.
It was an absolute blast having you. And just great to be around you as per usual. For Derrick Gunn.
Like a reunion, man. It's like an NBC reunion.
Has that feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't have as many years as you guys do with Ray Didinger, but I do want to say I was in the booth back at WIP as a producer with him and Glenn McDowell many years ago.
Wow.
So an honor to be up here on this dais with you, my friend.
Those were fun days.
Absolutely.
For sure.
For Ray Didinger, for Derrick Gunn, for Seth Joyner, I'm Marc Farzetta, our amazing crew here at Parx Casino. Thank you so much for joining us after the Philadelphia Eagles secure first place and hopefully cement that even further in 4 days when they take on the Washington Commanders. Thanks for joining us here at the betPARX post-game show presented by Lehocky.
Go Birds.